good afternoon. I hope you guys been having a wonderful week. I know I have. And it is almost Easter. Actually, it is Easter Sunday. What am I talking about? This episode actually airs on Easter Sunday. I can't believe it's already been a year since last Easter. I know what I'm going to be doing. I am going to be eating a fantastic Easter lunch. It's going to be really good, and I hope I get all the fixings. But besides that, I wanted to discuss a subject that has been circulating in the video game community. And that subject and question is whether or not gamers should be allowed to make bets in video games. Now, I am not talking about getting together with a group of friends and making bets with each other on who would last the longest or who would win in a free-for-all match in Call of Duty, Battlefield, or Counter-Strike 2. I'm talking about the ability to being able to challenge a complete stranger who might be on the other side of the country or globe to a match for money, or have specific modes in games where you can put money in the pot and whichever team wins gets the pot. Or like a boxing match, be betting on teams to win, whether it be an esports teams or a random team that is racking up the wins against other teams, and that is not a part of esports. Because why let esports have all the fun? As of April 2024, and I say this just in case you're watching this episode in the future where this is not so illegal across the states, it is currently illegal to bet on esports teams or games in most of the US. Some states have heavy restrictions on what games you can bet in the world of esports, while other states like West Virginia have very less restrictions, which is surprising because from my understanding, West Virginia has one of the most lax betting on esports laws out there. Go West Virginia, you gotta be known for something, I guess. When it comes to betting in regular sports, there are restrictions in pro, but amateur sports or amateur teams are usually off limits when it comes to betting. In the world of video games, amateur betting is not a thing unless again we're talking about a group of friends coming together or a group of strangers in the same location, like a tournament, betting on who wins. So I really do believe that games should allow modes in which consenting adults over the age of 18 or 21 would be allowed to make bets on themselves or place bets on matches in this mode, regardless if it's an official esports team or tournament game. Think about it. Wouldn't it be cool if you and your group of friends would be able to make money just because you're that good? A lot of us never had the chance to join an esports team, whether it be on our own merits or through college. A lot of colleges now are making esports a reality on campus and actually have scholarships that would help schools pay for a student's tuition, which is really helpful in this economy. And if you can take your university to the top, that tuition reimbursement or scholarship just grows. High schools are also making esports a thing, which is insane because my school back in the 2010s would have never have done that at all. I mean, it would have been seen as a huge waste of money instead of today where it's like, hey, we can get a whole lot of money. There are also those who live in small towns or communities that never got a chance because tournaments where you can show off your skills or have fun and make money only happen in certain places like big cities. So not only would this allow some recognition for people to see how good someone is, but it would also help them reputation-wise. Not to mention, it would make gaming a lot better because it would add a rush of excitement and despair to the game because not only are you worried about your KD ratio, if you care about that at all, now you actually have some serious skin in the game and serious consequence if you lose. Not to mention, you wouldn't have to wait for tournaments to pop off to show off. You'd be able to do that at the comfort of your own home, which is really nice if you think about it. Being able to make money from the comfort of your home sounds like a very 2024 thing to do. Now, I get why this isn't a thing yet, and it's because it would face a lot of backlash, which would be understandable to an extent. I get this would not help those with already serious gambling addictions, especially since this would allow a new avenue and easier access to the one thing that they're trying to get rid of, or the addiction they're trying to stay away from, especially if gaming is the way you cool off already. This would definitely bring some hindrance to that. I also get that many kids and teens may lie about their age or find a way to trick the system and use their savings, parents' money, or something else as collateral to make bets, which would lead to utter disaster. Or something quite unbelievable or unseen. that may happen that we don't know about it. I mean, you got to take account of the unknown, because a lot of times the unknown hits really hard. But with technology changing and evolving, something like what I'm describing is going to happen. I'm just saying that it should happen, but of course with proper regulation and rules in place so the bad stuff doesn't happen at all, or if I'm being realistic, doesn't happen as often. Now, I get that allowing for this type of betting might become legal in only a few states, but that's how it starts, and if it's implemented correctly, then it will catch on and everyone could be their own moneymaker based on the skills that they have in the game. Now, if this ever does become legal when it comes to first-person shooters, because I guarantee you that's the first place this is going to happen, or where modes like this are going to show up, it's probably first-person shooters. Games like Call of Duty or Dota, Overwatch, League, and Counter-Strike have to get rid of their skill-based matchmaking. I say this because I can't tell you how many times I have played a game like Call of Duty, start doing really great in a match or a couple matches, and then for some reason, some unbelievable, unholy reason, I find myself being put in a garbage team. Again, people not only a higher level than me, but are basically no-lifers who are just destroying us in battle, and there's nothing we can do about it. Like, seriously, it's one of the reasons why I hate Call of Duty right now. Skill-based matchmaking sucks. And it's because the matchmaking screws over people. Unless you're with a team that you trust, like a good group of friends, and you know will be good, you're more often than not going to be put on a team that sucks. And no matter what you do or how much you carry the team, it will cost you the W because no one else is basically pulling their own weight. Now, I get on paper that skill-based matchmaking, having players match with each other based on skill, sounds great, but it's not. So like mentioned before, that's got to be the first one to leave, easily. The next thing they would have to implement is a limit on how much money could be wagered, since this would allow easier access to bet money. There should definitely be a limit so nobody puts down like the rent or mortgage money, or it's not that high. Now, I would say the limit would be per match instead of just overall in the game, and with allowances for the limit to increase if it's not just a bunch of randoms in a match, but to teams that were handpicked by both sides for one. And I think that self-betting should be allowed. Now, I get why this wouldn't fly in a pro match, but in a match that has no huge bearing, where you don't have millions of people betting on this one game, and if the pro is basically going to bet on themselves to do worse or to better, and it will affect all those bets, definitely agree why it's not allowed for that. But in a game with a bunch of randoms and self-betting on yourself to be like, I'm going to get 20 kills, let's allow it. It would be so much better and would allow people to gain some good money, especially if you're skilled enough to actually get those kills. Now, for games like Battle Royales, where you have basically 100 or more people dropping in a match where you could either fly in a team or just go solo, the perfect type of betting for that would be basically a pot, where you're given the option whether or not to put money in a pot. And those who basically put in money are put into a special group. And if they can make it to the top 10 or top 15 of the match, then they would get a percentage of the money in the pot based on, let's say if they're in the top 15 of the match, then they get, let's say, 5% or 6% of the winnings. And of course, whoever comes in first definitely gets the bigger pot. Now, while I said they get put into a special group, what I meant was that if, let's say, you have people in the match that don't want to put money in the pot, they don't get any of the money, which would make it definitely fair. Now, you're probably wondering, wait a minute, what if you have someone in the top 15, but you have someone who made it to 16th place and they're the person who put money down for a bet? Then they would get that percentage that the 15 would get, and so on and so forth. Just in case there's more people in the top 15 or top 10 that didn't make it, you would just skip over the amount of people until you get to some of the ones that did, to keep it fair and to keep it open. Now, that would be my way of doing things. Whether or not that happens is basically up to whatever the developer wants. They may be crazy and be like, no, if you didn't make it in the top 10 or top 15, you're not getting any of the money. Me, I'd be more lenient, but again, definitely up to the developers on that one. Lastly, I think there should be a rule against making games for the sole purpose of betting, because I don't think video games should evolve to where every game's main point is to get you to bet money. I think that should be a choice. And I say this because I know companies who already push battle royales Call of Duty and try to get you to spend more money even though you spent $70 on the game and it doesn't have all the features. It's definitely not releasing content to justify that cost. I already know if we make betting on video games legal, you're definitely going to have companies trying to take advantage of that. Of course, they'll have free modes, but it won't be as lucrative or won't be as fun as the ones for betting. And then they'll keep hammering you until you basically put money down. And again, that shouldn't be the main point of video games. Video games should be fun. It should be getting you to relax. Making a game solely for the purpose of betting and still making you pay that $70 price tag is just insane, and I definitely would want a rule against that. Now, for games that are free to play being made for the sole purpose of betting, go for it. Go ahead and make that type of game. Go ahead and release it to the world, and I would have no problem with that. And the rule I'm talking about wouldn't affect that. You know why? Because you're not putting down a $70 investment to purchase the game. No, you're downloading the game with the sole purpose of playing to make money by betting money, by wagering money, or whatever way you want to put it. That's okay with me. Again, it's free to play. There's no $70 price tag. But the reason I want this rule to be implemented is because you're going to have games companies like Activision, EA, trying to wiggle around to people's pockets because they'll be like, hey, this game took this long to make or this many hours. It definitely deserves to be costing $70 like, I don't know, the last Call of Duty did when it was just an oversized DLC that they were pandering for $70 freaking dollars, and be like, yeah, make money, bet money. You have to do this every single time you win a match. That'd be terrible. It'd be annoying and it would suck. But for a free-to-play game, that's the sole purpose of doing so. Go for it. Again, you know what you're signing up for. It's free. And if you choose to play the game knowing that and you get annoyed, that's a you problem. If it's $70 to do that, then it's okay, we got to make sure this doesn't happen. Because again, companies will try every so often to try to get into the pockets of consumers and doing stuff that's diabolical. At least this way, it gives players a chance. And if they're really against the whole betting idea, they don't have to worry about it every single time they boot up a game. Anyway, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself and my arguments on why placing bets on video games should be legal. Again, that's my opinion. If you disagree with it, it's totally in your right. And again, I understand why this probably isn't going to become legal. But again, that's it for this week's episode. I'll see you guys next week. Sayonara, see you later, and have a good one. Goodbye.